Hey Thomas, I look forward to sharing experience with you face to face tomorrow, but I couldn't resist responding tonight to your video because your breakdown of the word experience uh, etymologically to basically a going out of and through. Um, it was really interesting because when trying to understand how the within and the without relate. Um, this sense of going out of and through might help us a lot. Um, if experience can be broken down into introspection and experimentation, to looking within and looking without, then somehow we have to be able to yoke those two together into a whole again, which they are in experience. As you said, any knowledge gained through experimentation is ultimately true because you experienced it. Um, because you felt it, because you saw it. So it is, in that sense, it's still a looking, and the thing about experimentation is, or about empiricism, knowledge through the five senses, uh, is that you can't see the seer. So if you ask a question like, what is consciousness, and then you try to solve it empirically, you end up coming to the conclusion that consciousness doesn't exist. Because through empirical experimentation, looking for consciousness, specting outward, um, leaves you entirely unable to find consciousness. It's like searching for darkness with a flashlight, chasing your own tail. You're looking for what is looking. If you're going to study consciousness, you have to look within. Um, you have to introspect. You have to meditate. You have to contemplate. You have to um, come into touch with your intuitive faculties as much as your intellectual, which tend to be more focused on outward sensation rather than inward feeling. But ultimately, inward feeling and outward sensation are one experience. Experience as in going out of, in other words, looking out at the world, and then going through by looking out into the world, which implies you must have began within, right? So from within to without, you go out of, and then through the outside back to the inside. When you intersubject with all of the other withins without your within. And by intersubjecting, you go out of yourself and through them and back around again. That seems to be the fundamental, I can't say it's a structure of reality because it flows, it's always going, it's a process. And this is the problem that philosophers run into all throughout the history of Western thought, is that they end up trying to define reality as a substance or a relation between different substances, and really you can describe it that way, but if you're really honest with yourself, you recognize that it's a process, that it can't be described because our language, being as it is composed of both nouns and verbs, things doing something, we can't ever contain the flow of nature, the Tao, with any words or system of words or measurements, or it will always elude our grasp, our mental grasp, in the same way that consciousness eludes empirical experimentation. The thinker can't be thought. In recognizing this loopy nature of reality, I think that is essentially the unconscious, or recognizing the unconscious. But again, consciousness and unconsciousness are a gradient. They're not these completely separate categories of experience. Nothing is entirely conscious, just like nothing is entirely unconscious. You were born, and through your birth, even prior to your birth in the womb, there was experience um, of this body that you now continue to become the form of. So you remember all of that, and kind of lost track of my thoughts. Well, the unconscious and the conscious are related. That was what I was saying, and they're not separate categories. And even the ego is itself an archetype of the unconscious, right? So recognizing how experience is always present by leaping out of itself and going through the other to return to where it began, and then doing it again and again and again and again, and delighting in it. I mean, that's my experience anyways. There doesn't seem to be an end, which is why the eternal can be interesting. The eternal can be more than interesting, actually. It can be consuming. It can provide the impetus for your entire life if you experience it deeply enough. In other words, it can be all that you need. I forget which Zen master it was, but they said that a man who knows the Tao in the morning can die in the evening without a care, without trouble. There's no more you need out of life than to know the Tao. I guess in a related sense, all of our knowledge requires faith. You begin with doubt, you ask a question, but you ask a question expecting an answer, and to ever accept an answer, you're going to need faith. Faith and doubt, questions and answers, the mind and the body, all of these things are dance partners. They share in experience, the going out of and through. So I guess we'll have to continue this tomorrow. So thanks for your video, Thomas.